Workplace wellness programs aim to improve the health of employees and along with that their work performance, reduce staff turnover through improved morale, not to mention making companies more attractive when recruiting. But do these programs achieve all those things? Maybe not, according to a recent randomized trial. Zirui Song works in healthcare policy and medicine at Harvard Medical School in Boston.
The wellness programs out there today are quite varied. However, they do have some common features. These include a personal health assessment and identifies areas of improvement for an individual employee. They also contain education on nutrition, physical activity, stress reduction, as well as group and individual activities centered on those topics.
Now, employers aren't fools. They're not going to pay a lot for these programs if there's no evidence. So they must have been presented with some evidence that they were going to get these benefits. What evidence existed before you did this randomized trial?
That's a great question. There has been a couple of decades of evidence, largely observational in nature, studies that are from single institution or single workplace interventions focused on workplace wellness. And by and large, this body of evidence has suggested that the return on investment for workplace wellness programs can be quite large. However, this body of evidence has been limited. They have been limited by the ability to show causal effects of workplace wellness programs.
In other words, there's links shown between better outcomes, but you could never be sure that it was the program doing it.
Correct. And that's mainly because of the possibility of selection bias, whereby employees who may naturally be more inclined or predisposed to lead healthier lifestyles or improve their health behaviors, those being the employees who are more likely to join the program.
So you decided to do a randomized clinical trial where you've got control groups and you can ascertain the effect of the intervention itself. How did you do the study?
We put together a program that ran for 18 months, involving a number of modules focused on key areas of wellness, such as physical activity, nutrition, stress reduction. And we evaluated the effect of the program by randomly selecting a subset of work sites to receive the program and randomly selecting a subset of work sites that did not receive the program.
And what sort of work were these people doing?
This particular employer is a large warehouse distribution firm, and the workers ranged anywhere from managerial or sales-type employees to employees who used their hands and were engaged more in manual labor, to employees who were engaged in the back ends of the distribution chain. It was quite varied.
And of course it was large too. You had 32,000 people participating.
Indeed, the firm was quite large in the number of employees it had.
What did you find?
We found that at the end of 18 months, health behaviors did respond to the workplace wellness program, notably in the rates of regular exercise and active management of weight. However, there were no significant differences in actual clinical measures of health, such as blood pressure, blood sugar, or cholesterol, nor were there significant differences in healthcare spending or utilization for the employer or employment outcomes, such as absenteeism and job performance. However, we are following the outcomes out to 3 years, which will teach us more.
If you're an employer, then, from what I hear you say, is that it depends on your investment horizon. If your investment horizon is 18 months, it doesn't look that great at the moment. And if you've got a high staff turnover, you're not necessarily going to get the benefits from a workplace wellness program.
Well, it depends on what you care about if you're an employer. Just as wellness programs are varied, employers are also quite heterogeneous in what they value. So different types of employers may look at these results differently. But indeed, from this particular setting and this particular set of results at 18 months, any optimism about achieving large financial returns on investment in the short run likely ought to be tempered based on what we've learned here.
The other explanation is that workplace wellness programs are doing the wrong things.
That's quite possible. The science of how to improve health in the workplace is still relatively young and nascent science.
And were you able to dissect by work site? Because sometimes you don't see benefits because management practices, you've got a lousy manager at one work site who makes everybody miserable. Was there a lot of variation between the work sites that received the intervention, or were they all pretty much looking the same?
You're asking about the heterogeneity of the effect across work sites, and we did not look at whether within the 20 work sites some had a bigger effect than others, but that is certainly possible as around every average as a distribution.
So what I'm taking from what you're saying here, Zirui, is that you're not necessarily down on workplace programs, you've just got to have a reasonable set of expectations.
I think that's a very reasonable takeaway from what we've learned thus far. This is not the final word on workplace wellness programs, But it is one piece of useful evidence and a well-designed piece of evidence given that it came from a randomized controlled trial. So it perhaps offers employers some pause when they invest in wellness programs in thinking about how fast a financial return on investment in healthcare costs might arrive or whether that might arrive at all. But it also does not speak for all of the wellness programs out there in the industry. This is indeed, at the end of the day, one wellness program in one employer and one study.
Zuri Song, thank you very much for joining us.
It's my pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Zuri Song is in the Department of Healthcare Policy and Medicine at Harvard Medical School. This has been The Health Report. I'm Norman Swan, and I look forward to your company next week.